Welcome to the In Your Element Fertility Podcast. I'm Jennifer Edmonds. I'm a yoga teacher, Pilates instructor, meditation and breathwork coach. And for the last 15 years, I've been helping women on their journeys to motherhood and beyond. This is the podcast that blends both science and spirit with everything you need to know as you navigate your fertility journey. If you're looking for a way to support your physical health, your mental health, reduce anxiety, and reclaim some joy back into your life to make the process of trying to conceive feel easier, then you've come to the right place. I'll show you how to apply the latest scientific research along with your energy and mindset to provide you with all the tools you need as you're trying to conceive. This is the In Your Element Fertility Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the In Your Element Fertility Podcast. Now, today's episode is one I have been really excited about for a long time. I find the word manifestation brings up a lot for people. Some get excited, some kind of roll their eyes, and it seems to be a bit of a buzzword these days. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, how can it actually help you if you're trying to conceive or if you're struggling to conceive? The world of manifestation gets a bit of a bad rap in the fertility space. I find it's often mistaken for toxic positivity, or it's kind of used as a way to tell others, well, you just haven't been manifesting hard enough when the times are tough. But today's guest is going to completely change everything you think you know about manifestation. How does it actually work? What's the science behind it? And how can it help you if you are struggling with your fertility? I met Jessi LeVesconte over a year ago, and it was the approach that she takes and the way she explains the science of manifestation that really struck me. Jessi's a certified fertility and mindset coach, and I think you are going to get so much out of this conversation today. So without any further ado, let's hear from Jessi. Jessi, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I have about 1 million questions for you, but I'm going to try and keep it succinct because if it's anything like our other conversations to go by, we could just talk for hours about all the things. So let's get into it. Can we start by just telling people a little bit about you and what you do and a little bit about how you came to do it?
Yes, absolutely. So, hello, everyone. I am Jessi LeVesconte, and I live in Eastern Canada. I am an immigrant from the US. I moved up here to be with my husband and his 3 kiddos. I love Canada. It's been wonderful living here. So before we even got married, we knew that we wanted babies together. We knew we wanted to grow our family. So we started trying right after the move was done. And I thought to myself, oh, he's got 3 kids already. This is going to be a breeze. So, wrong. And if you are here listening to this podcast, you are likely in the same position. So after trying for a little bit over a year, I was so broken. The way that you get when if you're here too, like you've probably hit that 1 year mark or a mark that feels like it's been too long. So I remember sitting outside in a snowbank on Christmas Eve, drunk. And like I could hear everybody laughing inside, and we had just hit that 1 year mark, and I was broken. Like all of these memories of like these very rock bottom moments, and I felt all those same feelings. Like I'm the problem. My body is broken. I must not deserve this. Why is this so easy for everybody else? So I decided for us. And I told my husband later that we were going to go get tested. Long story short, we got slapped with an MFI diagnosis with very little that we could do to rectify it because due to several medical factors on my husband's side. So I felt just utterly hopeless. We discussed treatment options, but I really decided that I wanted to get my head and my heart in a good place before we moved forward with that. So I took some time to do that, to kind of look into what it would look like to mentally support myself going through this. And we had a long drive to a wedding. I'm giving you the total backstory here. But we had a long drive to a wedding that we were about to take. And on that long drive, I decided to download the audio book to listen to, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Highly, highly recommend. If you are new to manifestation, she explains it in such a way that's so easy, so digestible. But my life was forever changed. I listened to this book 4 times on that drive. The drive was 16 hours, and I listened to it 4 times. And I was like, yeah, why couldn't this work for making a baby? It was like a weight had lifted off of my shoulders. And within 2 cycles of dedicating myself to this practice, and this newfound lifestyle, I held in my hands a positive pregnancy test, my first one ever. And it made no sense. But here I was, and I was pregnant. And when it came time to try for our second, I was like, oh, maybe the first time was a fluke, but I'm going to rerun the system. So I reran the system that I've created and that I work through with my clients and stuff. And we got pregnant with her in one try. And now I'm here helping other women do the same. So, and I don't say this to brag, because I say this because it is sincerely my life's mission to make happier mamas, mamas who are unapologetic about what they want in life, mamas who know what they want to pass on to their babies and want to make the world a kinder, brighter, more loving place, because we have mamas who know how to love themselves and can teach their babies to do the same. So that's something that starts right now before conception, and manifestation is the way to do that.
Thank you for sharing that. It is such an awesome story. And I love what you say about, your whole goal is making happier mamas, because we forget that once you get that positive pregnancy test and you are pregnant, that is only the beginning. And you have a whole life of things to work through. And especially being pregnant and new motherhood is enormously life-changing. And if you are still stuck in this state of fight or flight, being hypervigilant, being so scared about the future, that often comes when you're in that state of trying to conceive, it just makes the rest of your journey in your life so much harder. These principles are just going to be game-changing for so many people. So let's talk about it in a little bit more detail. I feel like manifestation kind of gets a bad rap. It gets kind of confused with toxic positivity, and, when something doesn't happen, people say, well, you just didn't manifest hard enough. Or they talk about The Secret and how just putting up a vision board or doing your affirmations is the way to make things happen. But it is so much more than that. So can you talk a little bit about what is manifesting and how does it work when you're trying to conceive?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. The most important thing to talk about when it comes to manifestation is what manifestation is not. That I think that can help sort of ease the mind a little bit when you're taking this approach. So it's not toxic positivity. It's not something that you have to feel good all of the time or you've ruined it. What it is it's the shortening of the gap between when you feel like, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here.
You can swear on here. Well, I'm Australian. It comes with the territory.
So I'm just policing myself, but it's shortening the gap between when you feel like shit about this, like shit on the bottom of the world's shoe. It's shortening the gap between when you feel like that and when you start to feel better and become an active participant in your life. And that happens over the course of a million moments. You are a human having a human experience. The journey is the beautiful part, right? So it's not that you have to feel good all of the time, but that you get to feel good more often than not, because you have these tools, because you have this perception, because you have this sort of overarching view on life in the world and the way that it works for you. So you get to feel good more often than not. And on top of that, you get to bring your baby home. So you get to, you get to have it all. You get to feel good. You get to be happy and get pregnant and have the family of your dreams, and you feeling good is a byproduct of your consistent practice, not a requirement. It's a byproduct. So that was really, you hit the nail on the head there. Manifestation is also not woo-woo pseudoscience, at least not in the way that I teach it. So I am never in a million years going to tell anybody to stop going to the doctor, to stop advocating for their health, to stop taking their meds, to not listen to modern science. And, you and I have talked about this before, but my hot take is that when we stop treating manifestation like it's the polar opposite of science, then we as a society, women in the TTC space, we're going to get a lot farther, a lot faster. They go together. The science of how the mind works and the profound physiological impact that it has on the body, that's still biological science. It's still biological science. So I think, and this is probably a subject for a separate podcast episode altogether, but I think that people swap out manifestation and religion interchangeably, and that's not what it is at all, at least not in the way that I look at it. Manifestation is at its core things showing up in your life as a result of your thoughts, your actions, and your beliefs, like really at the heart of it. And everything is a manifestation. Everything, it's not that out there. Like, for the example that I use all the time is that the light bulb was once just an idea in somebody's head, right? It didn't exist here. It was an idea that somebody thought about over and over and over again and felt into and could see, I'm so close to making this happen for humanity. And they birthed that idea. They birthed it from their consciousness into physical reality. Everything that you're looking at is a manifestation. It is the conscious redirection of your energy to influence your physical reality, not necessarily with physical force, the way that we tend to try to get things done, but with the laws of the universe and the things that work beyond what we can perceive with our five senses. So how does it work when you're trying to conceive? So this sounds good. I think people are more willing to accept something like manifestation when it comes to jobs or money. You hear a lot about manifesting money or manifesting a partner or love, because those things feel much more in our control, because we're used to, like, if you take the actions, then you get the result. Right. So sure, we can throw manifestation in there too. That feels fine. I think trying to conceive feels very out of our control. But the good news is that it's not really, like, energetically speaking. So it's pairing your energy work with your inspired action. It's consciously choosing to, and like, if you're listening into this felt so good to me to feel into the first time that I thought of it like this. What if I had the belief? What if I held the belief, as certain as I know my own eye color, nobody could argue it with me? What if I held the belief that motherhood was my inevitable future? So I had full permission to just go ahead and get ready for my baby showing up and have the time of my fucking life doing it. What if I got to hold that? Like, wouldn't that feel so much lighter than what it is that I'm feeling right now? Like, that's an option that's available to me. So manifestation, when you are working with it in the TTC realm, it's using your energy work to vote for that belief. Do you know what I mean? And I can dive more into that later. But when you do this too, I'd like to point out that it has the potential to work miracle status like shit on your body, on your physiological body, in terms of your fertility. And your body responds to thoughts all the time. It's not even that out there. It's not that out there, right? Like, you think you see a shadow in the corner of the room and you get freaked out. And what happens in your body? You start to sweat, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, your stomach starts to hurt, you might get a tingly feeling in the back of your head. That's literally your body, like, responding to a thought that you had to protect you from danger. So it works the same way for the good stuff too. It really does. And you name it. And I have seen a solid manifestation practice work through it and bring home a miracle baby. You name it. I've watched it in the course of this work. So how does it work in TTC? You are working in the quantum field of energy, the very stuff that literally constructed everything in the universe. And you have access to that field via your consciousness. So why not use it in conjunction with your treatments, in conjunction with, all of the other efforts that you're putting in? Why not put in this effort so that the actions that you are taking get to work smoothly for you and you get to enjoy yourself along the way?
Good answer. And isn't that the whole point? I mean, so much of, like you said, this journey is out of your control. And so much of it is so hard and it's so heartbreaking. But what if there was a way to make it easier? And we are, like you said, never, ever advocating for ignoring your doctor or going against what a professional has told you, because, in a lot of cases, infertility is a medical condition. And, there's probably no amount of manifesting that's going to get around certain medical conditions, obviously. But why not add it to your journey? Why not just find a way to make your life easier in the process and know that you're doing something to support your future mental health and your family's future mental health? It just seems so obvious, but it was something I wish I had learned a hell of a lot sooner, as I'm sure so many of us in this position can say. So, I think a lot of people look at manifestation and say, okay, well, I've got my vision board, I've got my affirmations. Isn't that enough? So how do we go a little bit deeper? What are some of the things that we can do day to day? Just little things like, where do we even start to actually get this sort of practice and process working in a real way?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like you said, manifestation is such a trend right now. And it's kind of cool the way that people are a little bit waking up to the power of the mind, that it can really influence what we're seeing play out in front of us. But in terms of manifestation, to invite your baby into your life, understand that this is not a quick fix or a get pregnant fast scheme. My goal when I work with somebody is never speed. My goal when I work with a woman is to get her to fall in love with herself, fall in love with her life, and then baby shows up as a byproduct of her new vibration, which is not always the answer people want to hear. Because you get all these gurus on TikTok or on the internet, they say, just make a vision board, just use these magical affirmations. And these are wonderful tools, but they don't do shit if you're not addressing the beliefs that you hold that are in direct opposition to what you want. You don't do anything. So it'll just be a surface level art project that you look at once and don't really interact with going forward. And sure, art projects can be fun, but some of these tools we're not leaning into it with our whole chest, with our whole soul, So, and the way that we do shift those beliefs is in 3 phases. So the 3 phases that I talk about, like inside my Force to Flow course, I teach it as inner work, outer work, and then consistent practice in that order. So as far as like getting started or ways that we can make it real, starting with that inner work, the very first thing that I have everybody do is keep a log of those intrusive thoughts that come in all the time. They're kind of just always running in the background about TTC. Like, you could be working and you're thinking in the back of your head, like, what am I going to do when that appointment comes up? What am I going to do if I don't get any eggs at this retrieval? What am I going to do if and it's just kind of running like a background program. So the very first thing, if you wanted to get started with the manifestation approach to bringing your baby home, would be to practice getting aware. Get aware. Shine a flashlight on those thoughts, because those are the things that we need to do that inner work on in order to be able to use tools like a vision board or affirmations or even meditation. If we're not addressing those things, then we are doing surface level stuff. We gotta make some changes as far as like how we're thinking, how we're believing, and how that's showing up in our lives. So the first step is definitely just to get aware. So what I have people do, and a concrete thing that you could do if you're getting started with this, would be to open the notes app on your phone. Whenever you notice one of those thoughts roll in, jot it down in the notes app. No need to change it yet. Just jot it down. What was the thought? Jot it down. And like get it out of your head and onto your notes app, and start to keep track of that without judgment. Just say, this is how often these things are coming up. These are the thoughts that are coming up, because then you have some clarity on what you need to work on, right? So that would be the first place I would start.
And isn't that so true that it does come back to rewiring your thoughts? And I want to use that as a little bit of a gateway as to talking about how the science works. And I like to give people kind of the analogy or the example of the placebo effect. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with the placebo. There are many clinical trials that are done before drugs are released to the public. And normally what they do is they separate people into a group that takes the drug, a group that doesn't take the drug, and a group that thinks they're taking the drug, but it is not. It's a sugar pill. And the studies show time and time and time again that when you are taking a placebo and you think you are taking the drug, you get better, but you're taking nothing. So explain how that works if it isn't your mind. So I think that manifestation is so similar because it's the same thing. So can you talk how it all works on a little bit of a deeper level? Let's just go deep.
You want to go deep? How much time do you have? All right. So I love those. I love the placebo, the double-blind placebo studies. They talked about one that they did, or where it started in World War II. Have you heard that story? Where they had these guys coming in, I don't really know what it's called, but like into the infirmary where they were injured and they needed morphine, and the doctor ran out of morphine. And so he no longer had morphine to give to his patients. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So a nurse of his filled syringes with saline and was like, oh, here, I found some more morphine, and gave them to the doctor. And the doctor gave them to these patients because they needed the morphine or they would go into shock. And he didn't want them to be in any pain. And so he gave them the saline shot and said, you'll be out of pain in just a few minutes, okay? And none of them went into shock. All of the patients, they didn't go into shock, and 90% of them had no pain. And so when she told him about this later, he was like, oh my, we got to study this. Like, this is crazy. So that was the launching point for the double-blind placebo studies, was that right there. So, I mean, that's just, the power of the mind is insane, and manifestation is very much the same. So I know we feel like we can't make physical changes to our bodies with our minds, but we kind of can a little bit, like we kind of can. We can, whatever we believe to be true, our body will replicate the chemicals to try to make that true. The body follows the mind. So as far as the science of manifestation, when we dive into this, these are all proven concepts in quantum physics. In quantum physics, it has already been discovered and proven that everything is energy. Everything you can see and everything you can't see. Everything is energy. All of that energy, including you, including your thoughts, including your emotions, they're all energy. All of that energy is moving or vibrating. When you hear them talk about somebody's vibration, that's what they're talking about. And all vibrating energies move at a certain frequency, a measurable frequency, just like a TV radio wave, like they move like that. So, and like frequencies attract like frequencies. So these are all scientific facts. So in effect, the concept of manifestation is when you can utilize your consciousness the same way that these people, they sincerely believed that they were going to receive an effect from this medicine. When we believe into things, our beliefs are really, really powerful, and they help us to match the frequency of what it is that we want. And if you do it often enough and on purpose enough, that starts to bring that experience to you, right? Instead of having to fight so hard to obtain it. So the vehicle by which we do that is your consciousness. It's your emotions. It's what you're thinking and feeling and believing to be true. So like I said, you emit a measurable frequency. Your thoughts do too. Your emotions do. Measurable. They can measure it. So everything does. And because everything is energy and everything is always moving. So your beliefs determine so much about you, even just on in a practical sense. Your beliefs determine what you feel is right and wrong. Your beliefs determine what you will or will not allow yourself to do or be or have. And they run the show subconsciously. And the way that I explain it, so if we're talking about how manifestation works in terms of also cognitive behavioral therapy and neuroscience, I imagine your brain is split into two parts, just for the purpose of the illustration. This is not anatomically correct. But, I'm not claiming to be writing anatomy books, but the way I say it is that your brain is split into two parts. So here's the top part, here's the bottom part. So on top is your conscious mind, below is your subconscious mind. So the top is your conscious mind or your learning mind. It's where you receive new information and you send it down for processing, essentially. So a new thought enters your conscious mind. So let's use an example from the TTC world. A new thought enters your conscious mind, like, I will get pregnant this month. I'm doing manifestation. I will get pregnant this month. Right? So like I'm claiming it, right? The way that this gets really trendy. So that comes into your conscious mind, and that thought trickles down into your subconscious mind, the bottom level, where in the shadows lurks this overly emotional baseball player. And she's really overly emotional because she's trying to keep you safe. So she takes a look at that thought, I will be pregnant this cycle. And she like digs through her files, like she's holding this like a ball, like, okay, I will be pregnant this cycle. And she's looking through her files, and her files contain all of the evidence, all of what has happened before, a record of everything that has happened up to this point. And she asks herself, is this thought safe? And is it true? And if she deems that the answer is no, she's going to take her bat and knock that shit out of the park. So our work together is to help her feel safe and to help her file new evidence for new beliefs, so that when she receives happy, good feeling thoughts that are actually what you want to be true, she doesn't knock them out of the park, because it's what she feels that determines what you're manifesting. Your frequency and your vibration determine that physical experience. So it's a little bit about how it works.
That
I
is
could dive
that is a
much
great explanation. I love that analogy so much. And the words that you use there, what's going to keep me safe? That is such a beautiful thing that relates back to so much of what I teach with yoga and meditation, because your entire life, your autonomic nervous system is constantly assessing your life around you to deem what's safe and what isn't. And it does that only for survival, and it prioritizes survival over no matter what. So if your brain says, this isn't safe because the last time she wanted to be pregnant and she wasn't, she felt like her world had fallen out beneath her. Her relationship suffered. She felt like she was doing badly at work, this and that and the other, and financial aspect and the friendships and everything that goes with all of those thoughts. So why would your subconscious think that that was safe? It isn't going to. So we need to really get in there and find ways to make our deeper level of understanding realize that this is what we want to happen. It's deep. It's a lot.
It is. See why it goes much deeper than like making vision boards or affirmations. Like you're literally creating safety within yourself, and that's what I love about your work too, is that you're working with the body systems and the mind at the same time to go ahead and like, let's breathe. Like let's take a beat here and let's honor who we are, and let's return back to that feeling of safety and that sense of self-trust. And it takes some time to build that up. That's why I also say, like, my goal is never speed. My goal is to get you to fucking fall in love with yourself. And that's going to take a hot second, because I want you to be able to teach your babies how to do the same. This is so much bigger than just two pink lines. This is zooming out when you're 75 years old and you're looking back on your life and what you have built and what you have left behind. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is so much bigger. You get to do this. You get to build this. You get to send people out into the world. You get to exist and ripple throughout generations to come. And when we can zoom out and take a look at it bigger, it feels a lot better, and we grasp the magnitude of what it is that we're doing here. But until you use those building blocks for safety, we can't get our hearts there. This is why women are afraid to get their hopes up. It's, this overly emotional baseball player, she's got file after file after file, and she'll be like, nope, fuck that. You can't do that. You can't do that. No way. So it's about making her feel safe and changing what she believes to be true. And I think too, by separating ourselves from it a little bit and being like, oh, that's just what she thinks. So in that, we can kind of access a different level of consciousness or a higher mind or a different level of thinking. We're like, okay, my subconscious thinks this. So what can we do to help her feel safe? What can we do to, and then you get to separate yourself from that a little bit. It doesn't feel so dangerous.
Can we talk, while we're speaking about nervous system and safety and coming into regulation, you posted a video recently, and for anyone who doesn't follow Jessi on TikTok, you're going to have to after this conversation. I will add all of the links in the show notes, but honestly, your videos just make my day. These like fast talking, straight to the point, amazing little nuggets of information. So you put up one recently about how a really hard pill for people to swallow is when they come to you and they kind of like being in the struggle. They kind of get into this place where they feel so hard done by. They know it's a really shit place to be in, and it does suck. And they kind of get into this, woe is me, everything is difficult, and I deserve to feel so bad about the situation. But it's really hard for them, those people, to then go, okay, but maybe I could let go of that, and maybe I could approach it from another perspective and not sit in the struggle and not feel so terrible and feel that, why is it me? Why is it happening to me? This is so unfair. What do you do when people come to you in that position, and how do you get them out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's buckle in here because this is such a sense. We feel, and whether it's making a baby or anything, we feel entitled to our struggle. But the most important thing to understand about that is let's break down why. Like, why do we feel like it's getting down to what your emotional baseball player feels about and believes about struggle and what it gets you and what it means about you as a person. So, like I was talking about beliefs, and your beliefs determining who you are and what you manifest, So if your overly emotional baseball player believes that you need to work really hard or you haven't earned something, or one of the ones that I see a lot is the best things in life come after the hardest struggles. If you sincerely hold that belief, then fuck yeah, you're going to struggle. You're going to feel attached to that. And guess what else? Here's the deeper part of it, is that you're going to feel pride. That's the connection there. You're going to feel pride in your struggle. And there's nothing wrong with feeling this way. This is morally neutral. You can feel however you want to feel, but you're going to feel that sense of pride. Like, I'm an infertility warrior. I'm a warrior, right? I'm strong and I'm fighting through this battle. The switch flipped for me when I said, hey, I don't want to fucking fight. I don't want this to be a battlefield. I don't want this to feel like I have to wake up every single morning and pick up my sword and shield and end every day with my head on the pillow feeling battered and bruised and broken. I don't want that, because that's not the kind of motherhood experience that I want. And how I'm approaching my TTC journey is exactly like, that's not going to stop once this baby gets here. Unless I interrupt the pattern, I will continue to draw pride from being a warrior. And hey, I don't want to do that. So this is a personal choice that we kind of have to make, is what kind of motherhood experience do you want? Okay, you get to start that now. Like, you have full permission to start living that way now. And we attach ourselves so strongly to that struggle, usually because somewhere along the line, your subconscious mind is full of evidence for your entire life. For me, it's got 30 plus years of shit in there, that I learned from the time that I was very small, spongy brain to now. And, it's tough to rewire some of those really early beliefs, but it's not impossible. So, one of the common ones is we have to work really hard for what we want, or we didn't earn it, or what you fight the hardest for, you'll appreciate more. How about that one? So there's all of these reasons why we latch onto this struggle. And it's like, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, but, I use the analogy of elephant shit. So it's like, it's like sitting in elephant shit and somebody walking up to you and being like, hey, do you need a hand? I have a shower at home. We can get you cleaned off. We can get you a nice hot meal. And we want to sit there and we want to be like, no, this is my elephant shit. And it's my special elephant shit. And you can't pull me out of here. And nobody can pull me out of here. This is my special elephant shit. And when we look at it like that, I know it sounds so silly, but when we look at it like that, it's like, why don't we stand up out of the elephant shit? You know, why don't we? Because we have the choice. We have to get buy-in from the subconscious brain. We have to get buy-in from that overly emotional baseball player. So that's the process. So when we work together, I've got a very direct system for building new beliefs, for creating safety in the subconscious mind, and for getting yourself to slowly, like, maybe step one foot out of the elephant shit, maybe put one hand out of the elephant shit, maybe grab onto a tree branch and get ready to pull. It's very slow, it's very safe, but it's like, you got to take those steps, or it's not sustainable.
I love this so much. And there's probably so many people listening now and just thinking, this is all too good to be true. But can you attest to the fact that there is a way to get through your TTC journey without being triggered by pregnancy announcements, without wanting to die at the thought of going to another baby shower? When you see a family in the street and they've got 3 beautiful children, how can you go through your life without giving them a dirty look? Is it actually possible to get to that point?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. It absolutely is. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's going to look like a switch that flips and all of a sudden you feel better about this. It goes in phases for sure, depending on where you are in your cycle too. You're a lot more sensitive to these things naturally, it's and that's totally okay. So the disclaimer that I'll add here is that you don't need to feel high vibe all the time. Like I said, this is not toxic positivity. This doesn't mean that you never get to get upset ever again. So I just want to say that, but it's having the tools to then, when you do find something triggering or activating those feelings within you, where you can say, oh, thank God I found another one. I found another belief that I hold that I can now rewrite. Thank goodness. Like, that's so awesome. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of myself, because now I have found another thing where it's like, I can dive into this, I can dig into this. And it becomes this treasure hunt where it's like, if you're activated by a pregnancy announcement or a baby shower, what are you believing to be true about that? What is your overly emotional baseball player? What does she believe? So if I could take you through an example, if we got a baby shower invite and that really hurts because the thought is, when will it be my turn? Right? That's a really, really common one. So your overly emotional baseball player is holding the belief that everybody gets to be pregnant except me. So if we distill that down, it's, I don't fit in. I don't belong. I'm an outsider. I'm not safe. When we distill that down, it's, I don't have people around me that are in the same stage of life as me, and we have this very intense primal desire to belong to a social group, to, whatever social groups we find important, especially with our friends and our family. So if you can distill this down, it's, I can't keep up. I don't belong. Because I don't belong, I'm in the woods by myself without a tribe. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. It's not safe to be alone, And if we can take a look at that and rewrite that and sincerely put effort, like, I've got a whole belief, action, emotion loop that I run my clients through, and this is a repeatable process for building new beliefs, but we address them one by one. So when those triggers are coming up, it's something worth celebrating. Like, yes, I found another one. It's this treasure hunt. And eventually you get to a point where, and I've seen this happen over the course of, 2 weeks, people start to feel better about these kinds of things, to 2 months, to 6 months, to a year. It really takes time to integrate, but it's so worth it when you do, because what you believe manifests. I had a client that she had done 5 transfers. She'd had 2 losses. She was unexplained, but eventually they did testing on the embryos and found genetic abnormalities and stuff like that. And so they think that was, once they got into IVF, they determined that was likely the reason that she was miscarrying and that she wasn't having full-term healthy pregnancies. So when she came to work with me, it was like this evolution of like, I watched her take on these things, tackle these things, be excited to find these things. And she's working through them and she's working through them and she's working through them. And she did a transfer. So she's like, she's in the manifesty stuff. She's like, she's rewiring this. She is feeling safe, getting happy. She's practicing this. She's practicing this. And then she had another transfer and the transfer didn't take. Right. And so the resilience there was really, really cool to watch, though, because she said, this is just information going forward. And sincerely was like good to go. You know, she's like, she spent a day like being like, okay, I'm going to let myself today like feel as shitty about this as I want to. I'm going to scream. I'm going to cry. I'm going to write it out, you know, because I very much teach like honor those emotions and however long that needs to take. If it takes a day, if it takes a week, if it takes a month, you go ahead and you honor that. Don't try to push through it any faster than you need to. But she had this like evolution of like, she moved through that transfer. The transfer didn't work. She held the belief that it didn't matter because baby was coming home. She was building that relationship with her baby before the baby was conceived. And then she kept doing that for a couple months. But the cool shift after her first transfer was that as she was planning the next transfer, which eventually happened and she got pregnant during that transfer, as she was doing that, I watched this fun thing happen where she used to have this list. This is a really long story, I'm sorry. But she used to have this list of people. She sent me the screenshot, this list of people that it wasn't okay to spend time with because it would be triggering, because they had kids or they were pregnant or they were trying to conceive and she didn't want them to throw news at her that they were pregnant before her. She had this list of people that were not okay to spend time with. These were her friends, her family. And, you know, it was very, very intense where she was really trying to guard herself and protect herself. And she went from that all the way to like just full on like attending baby showers, going to birthday parties of young kids, and moving into this headspace of celebrating women when they got pregnant. She made it a point to like make a big deal about it and feel into it. And really, really build that excitement that, yes, they're pregnant, I get to raise my babies with them, like rebuilding all of that excitement that so many of us have when we first start our trying to conceive journey, flavored with a little bit of naivete and optimism, right? So we're moving back into that space where every baby coming home is worth celebrating. Every single baby, you know, every single baby being united with their mama is something worth celebrating. And so she was moving into that headspace. And not only that, but she started to plan IVF around her life. She had a trip she wanted to take, so she delayed her own transfer because she wanted to take the trip. How often does that happen? Do you know what I mean? Like people are like, no, I want to get the transfer as fast as possible. And she's like, well, no, I really want to take this trip. So I'll push the transfer to XYZ date. And I was like, yes, like, and it was this utter release of like, it doesn't matter when I do it. I know that motherhood is meant for me. And it was this ease about it. And then bam, knocked up, man.
I know. I love stories like this where you just go from thinking that's actually impossible, but it isn't. And it's incredible to watch. Jessi, I could talk to you for so long. I'm going to go for two more questions. Two more.
Okay.
The first one's kind of a two-parter.
Okay.
What do you say to women who come to you and their beliefs or their thoughts are, this isn't meant for me. I don't think this is going to happen. Why isn't my baby manifesting? Can you talk about how that isn't possible because our conscious mind can only perceive, what is it, 10%, 5%, 1% of reality, whatever small, tiny thing it is. So the fact that you can even conceive the idea of having a baby means that it's possible for you. Is that right? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to dive into the quantum physics of it, I could keep you here for another hour. But You know, you need to go to
Always.
bed soon. Oh, okay. All right. Let's go here. So there are three quantum concepts that are very important to note when it comes to why this is not impossible, and why it's easy. So, and it doesn't feel easy. I'm not trying to take away from the pain of this journey. But when you look out and you zoom out into the universe, the building blocks of everything, atoms, electrons, the smallest things that we can study, that's what's being studied in quantum mechanics and quantum physics. There's three quantum concepts that contribute to this. Number one is superposition. So these are all proven. Like, superposition is everything exists everywhere all at once. Multiple timelines, everything exists everywhere all at once. So there's a movie about that. You can go watch it. You'll get the concept.
Inception?
It's really No, it's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, that's what it's called. Sorry, carry on.
No. And in it, they have something called an everything bagel in the movie, and that's what quantum physicists have actually called this. So it's the concept of everything existing everywhere all at once. So that means that we live in this world of polarity, like it's either possible or it's not possible. It is or it isn't, or it's here or it's there. We live in a 3D reality where everything is very polarized. It's either one or the other, when that's not really true in quantum physics or how anything works at all. It is this and that. It is and it is not. So superposition, just to distill this down into bite-sized chunk, everything everywhere all at once, including multiple timelines, multiple versions of what we are experiencing right now. Number two is quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement is two particles or two electrons or two whatever. It can exist billions upon billions of light years apart. It does not matter the distance between them. The change in one instantaneously signals change in the other. No delay and no passage of linear time. Same time. So what's really cool about quantum entanglement is that they're now studying how our consciousness relies on quantum entanglement. And quantum entanglement is the thread that runs through everything that exists everywhere all at once. So this is your access point to the alternate realities or alternate possibilities that exist. And then the third one is perception, or collapsing the wave function. So if something exists as both a particle and a wave, it's not this or that, it's this and that. So if it exists as both a particle and the wave, the beauty about your human perception and what you pay attention to is that when you look at it is the only time it turns into a particle. It's the only time it turns into a fixed point. So it's like in Toy Story, when all of the toys are playing and whatever, and when somebody looks at them, they fall and they're lifeless. It's just like that. Whatever you pay attention to, wherever you see that toy is where that toy is, but it's not where it was. And it's not what it was. It's not just a toy, a lifeless toy. Like you can't see that and you can't perceive that because you're not looking at it. Do you know what I mean? So it's the power of our perception. So just a brief recap. Everything exists everywhere all at once. Our consciousness is the thread that runs through and accesses everything that exists all at once. And what you pay attention to is what you get. So you having this desire placed on your heart, when I talk about how this is not like woo-woo religion, like when you have this desire placed on your heart, I always talk about how, yeah, you're meant to experience it in this lifetime. You're getting this pull that like, this is the timeline that you can be in, that you can experience. This is the timeline that you're meant to be in. And the energy that makes up your baby that you are calling home, it already exists. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Your baby literally already exists. All you are doing, just like a fucking light bulb, all you are doing is using your consciousness to turn energy into form. That's it. That's all you're doing. So it's really, really not impossible. And in fact, it's highly probable because you want it. Your desire and your emotions are the fuel, are the vehicle for what turns energy into form. And you've already done it a billion times in your life. You know what I mean? So anyway,
So
did that
good.
answer the
No,
question?
that is so good. And so when someone says to you, but my manifestations aren't working, they're not happening, how do you respond to that?
Okay, well, this is this is interesting. So, are they not happening on your timeline, or are they not happening at all? So that's the first question. So there is an element to this where we do need to release the timeline. And I could give so many answers to this because it's so based on the person's unique experience. But when somebody comes to me and says, this is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening, there's a couple places that we can look. And a lot of them aren't very comfortable. Some of these places that we can look. One of the places that we can look is, what are you afraid will happen if you get it? So what is your overly emotional baseball player afraid of will happen if you get pregnant right now? If you woke up tomorrow and you took a test and it was positive, what are you afraid would happen? Because that's what we need to work on, right? That's the stuff that needs rewritten. What part of you still believes you can't have it? So digging into that a little bit more. What part of you doesn't really want it? And when I say that, I don't mean that you don't want to get pregnant. What part of you, that could be, what part of you is afraid of motherhood? What part of you, are you afraid that you're going to end up like your mom and you're not going to be good enough, or that you can never live up to your mom? Or, these things can run so deep. Those are just two examples. But like, what are you afraid will happen in motherhood? Like, let's zoom out a little bit. It might not be, just pregnant or whatever, but all of these things that are delaying time, it's, time is an illusion. It only exists here on Earth. And, it's things happening on our timeline are happening this cycle. The way we can kind of get out of that, the trick to get out of that, is to use your consciousness via your daily manifestation practice to get yourself out. I want you to just pluck yourself out of the process. And I want you to mentally and emotionally put yourself into momming this baby. Get out of the fucking process. Get out of the process. When they come to me and they say, this is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening, 9 times out of 10, it is because they are spending 100% of their energetic thought currency on thinking about the process of making a baby. And when you are constantly focused or perceiving or paying attention to the process of making a baby, what is going to magnify and manifest out around you? The process of making a baby. We don't want to fucking manifest more process. We want to manifest the baby. Get your awareness out of the process and focused on the baby, being that baby's mom. So that means, like entering into a guided visualization that walks you through a day with your baby, that's talking to your baby all day, every day. Get fucking delusional with it. Why the hell not? You've already done all this crazy shit. You've taken all these crazy shots. You've gotten so much shit stuck up your vagina. Like, why not add this into? Be delusional. Be delusional. Who the fuck cares? Nobody even needs to know that you're doing it. Talk to your baby. Imagine when you are like getting dinner ready, that there's a baby in the bouncer right over there. It's your baby. Talk to them. Make them a part of your life. Get the fuck out of the process and get your head into momming that baby. Imagine what that feels like. Get that feeling into your body. What does it feel like with the weight of that baby on your chest? What does it feel like as you hold them? What do they smell like? Their little heads, they smell so good and they're so soft. See yourself growing up with this baby. See yourself growing with this baby. What are you learning as you're stepping into motherhood? What are you able to navigate that maybe you were a little bit nervous about? Dive into these details. Get out of that process. Get into the momming. And I'll tell you what, once you're committed to that, that is the energy that shifts you to that other timeline of possibility.
That is an incredible way to look at it. And I think that when you can do that, your whole life changes, and not just the trying part, but the rest of your life too. It just seems to fall into place. I love everything that we've talked about today. My final question is, what is the one thing that you want people to know about what's possible for them from, your experiences and the work that you do? What's the one thing you want them to know if they are struggling?
If they're struggling, that you are not as stuck as you think you are. Mentally, emotionally, physically, the solution is always available, and it's not even your responsibility to find it. I know that a lot of the time fertility is we want to find the missing piece. We want to find the smoking gun. We want to find the one thing that's going to click everything into place and make pregnancy happen. Or if we're dealing with like recurring loss or whatever, the one thing that's going to keep baby on the inside. And these medically, these are wonderful pursuits. We should be pursuing these things, but when it comes to how we're approaching this mentally and emotionally and spiritually and energetically, how we're approaching this, we think we're doing something about it if we're thinking about it and staying focused on it all the time. A lot of the time we feel like if we are not directly focused on baby making, then our baby's going to escape into the woods and we'll never see them. Like we're going to miss it. We're going to miss our chance. We're going to miss it. We're going to not pay attention and it's going to be gone forever. And so if you are struggling, I want you to know that it really isn't as unsafe as you feel it is to be happy. It really isn't as unsafe as you feel it is to know that baby is coming home, and it's something that I get really emotional about because so many women are so broken about this. This is such like a crack in your identity and everything that you thought you were. But understand that that is true, but it's not because you're incapable or because you're struggling. It's because you are becoming a mom. And when babies are born, so is a mom. When a baby is born, so is a mother. You are turning into a brand new version of yourself. And if you had gotten pregnant the very first month you tried, you would have gone through this change anyway. You would never be the same anyway. This is a time of transition for you. Let it be. Let it be. And breathe into that and take advantage of all of the support that is available to you in work like Jen's, and whatever you can get for like holistic support or mental health support. Get yourself a team, get yourself people around you who can remind you who the fuck you are and what you are capable of as an infinite being, as a conscious creator of your real experience lived on earth. You are so fucking powerful and you are never as stuck as you think you are.
I just feel with all of this, my overriding thought is, what do you have to lose if you looked at things from a new perspective like this? What have you got to lose?
I read that Jen Sincero book that was like, what do I have to lose? It was exactly that. What do I have to lose?
And it just ripples out, like we were saying before. You can use these tools and these practices to enhance not only your journey to motherhood, but your work, your business, your relationship, everything else you desire in your life. There's going to be a point in time where you no longer want to have a baby. You're going to move on from that point in your life. And then what are you going to do next? You're going to desire something else. And
that's it. That's exactly it. And it just booms out into every area of your life. The second that you start doing this work, some of the things that have happened as people were manifesting their baby, people got brand new jobs, they got promotions, they got, new housing opportunities that they never thought that they were capable of having. They've gotten, I've had single mothers by choice find a partner immediately before their transfer and then marry that partner when they transferred as a single mother by choice. Like, what? Just because they couldn't find a guy or whatever. But like, and so they were like, we're doing this baby thing alone. But then they found like, oh my God. And it's so cool how it just bursts into every area of your life. And, if you're the type of woman who wants a really beautiful motherhood experience, what else comes along with that? And I love that you highlighted that. Is like, what else do you want? This is going to come to an end. So what do you want also? Like, who are you? What do you want also in addition to this baby? What do you want motherhood to look like for you? What do you want your family to look like? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to live? What kind of car do you want to drive? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? Build that. Get to building that.
Jessi, I love talking to you about this so much. It's so inspiring in no matter what stage you're at. I just think people are going to get so much from this. Where can people go to learn more about you, about what you offer, and just to connect with you?
Absolutely. You can follow me on TikTok at Manifesting Motherhood, or you can go to my website, which is ohimama.com. You can take a look around there. I've got courses and products on there, or you can send me an email at jessie@ohimama.com, and we can get you started somewhere. This is literally my life's mission, so I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
We will link all of those links in the show notes as well. Jessie, thank you so, so much for your time today. And I have no doubt we will continue this conversation at another time.
Thank you so much. And it has been an absolute pleasure. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review so I can keep all this information coming your way. If you aren't already following me on social media, check the links below in the show notes to join me for more daily tips to support your fertility journey. And don't forget to visit my website to learn more about how the beautiful practices of yoga, meditation, and breathwork can support you as you're trying to conceive. Until next time, sending you all my love. The most common thing I hear from students who are on their fertility journey is that the stress of trying to conceive has taken over their life. Your days end up being filled with endless appointments, navigating pregnancy announcements. You're trying to eat right, take all your supplements, and it is all you think about from the moment you wake up. I designed the Element Fertility Yoga course to support your body, your mind, and your mental health in 3 important ways: to synchronize your hormones, increase circulation and blood flow, and to help regulate your nervous system. But on top of this, the greatest gift that you can give yourself throughout this journey is a sense of peace, to help you calm your mind and just make this process feel easier. Every single one of my students tell me that this is the first thing they notice after starting a yoga, meditation, and breathwork practice. But on top of this, you have the amazing benefit of actually supporting and increasing your fertility. Studies have shown that those participating in mind-body programs as they're trying to conceive have success rates 3 times greater than those who don't. The course I've designed walks you through natural conception as well as fertility treatments and IVF cycles. And the best part is you can work through it at your own pace in the comfort of your home. The practices start from just 10 minutes per day. To learn more, visit elementpilatesyoga.com or see the link in the show notes.